Do people squirm when you stare at them? Do you often find the urge to size up a person before you get to know them? What about your urge to feel wanted? I bet you can't stand being unacknowledged, just like the Asgardian bad boy Loki.
I could have done it, Father!
And despite the fact they don't get you, you just want to do good and help others, much like the rarest from Game of Thrones.
I did what I did for the good of the realm.
But it's maddening, right? To not feel like you make a difference? Among all Myers-Briggs personality types, the INFJ is often looked upon as wizards or snowflakes. But that's because they have some traits that can creep anyone out. Get on their wrong side, and you'll understand why. After all, the INFJ is a complex character with some badass habits that often graduate towards the greater good of people they love. But when things don't go as planned, then be prepared for these 5 creepy things all INFJs do. The INFJ stare. If there is one thing creepy about an INFJ, it's the stare. Contrary to what most people think, the INFJ stare isn't sexual or romantic. In fact, the most prominent part of an INFJ's face is their eyes, because that is what helps them focus. It is the eyes and the mind of an INFJ working together as a combined cognitive process supported by intuition and sense that helps them analyze a person. When that begins to work, an INFJ unleashes the stare. INFJs get so swept away by the need to observe everything about a person that they stare you up and down without feeling the least discomfort. The intense, piercing stare is an INFJ's mind working at full speed. Be it a friend or a foe, that intense INFJ stare can intimidate anyone. What better example of this than when Billy Kimber meets Tommy Shelby in the popular British television series Peaky Blinders? Tommy is an INFJ who can creep you out with his eyes. Staring is their natural process to analyze a person, size them up, acknowledge them, collect ideas, and sometimes as a defense mechanism to hide their insecurity in specific situations. Even when an INFJ is socializing, they aren't really doing so. The constant working of their analytical mind will continue even when they are relaxing. That being said, INFJs aren't really party animals. Give them a book and a coffee or whatever they like doing alone. That is the ultimate way to relax rather than to hang out with a bunch of superficial people. Their inability to settle. The INFJ is always on a life mission. It could be the ultimate partner, or it could be that perfect career goal. They are always searching for the one. And more often than not, their sense of purpose or an endeavor gives them the feeling of contributing towards the greater good that stirs them up. Like Daenerys from the Game of Thrones. Though fiercely ambitious, Daenerys does not crave the personal power of being a leader. Instead, Dany wanted to help others on principle because she felt that it was her responsibility. That particular feeling of doing something that will create them a legacy is irresistible, just like Loki, the bad boy of Thor. The problem with INFJs is that their sense of purpose can muddle their brains. If one activity doesn't bring them closer to their goals, they might leave it for another. They don't need growth, but growth that stirs their emotions, because they want to feel it. They want to be burdened by that overwhelming need to be great. That could be summed up in Loki's words.
And I am burdened with glorious purpose.
Loki.
The inability to see something through might be the INFJ seeking perfectionism, but this is what makes an INFJ so unpredictable. Like Daenerys, who on one hand is driven by plans for the future, but under stress, she gets wrapped up in her problems and leads towards impulse. She keeps jumping from conquering one kingdom after another, never settling in one place, in hopes that the next step will take her closer to her goals. Not acknowledging them can creep them out. Yes, INFJs may seem introverted even though they don't show it. They want people close to them to see them in a positive light. And oh boy, do they hate being fawned over. That's Loki all the way through. Loki may have crossed over to the dark side, but denial of his constant need to be acknowledged and recognized made him do so. Now, here's the thing. An INFJ has this special quality of wanting to do good for others. That's why they are also called protectors. They may not be attached to just one person like Daenerys Targaryen, the Dragon Lady. She got married to one of them. She had lovers, and of course, in the end, It was Jon Snow, but she still isn't attached. An INFJ feels an attachment to their own select society as a whole. But even if one obstacle prevents them from reaching that goal, they can go crazy. INFJs will worry when someone disagrees with them on their key values of what holds society together and makes it work. That would really mess up an INFJ who desires complete loyalty.
You're here to bend the knee.
I am not.
INFJs have a common tendency, and that's an unfulfilled desire for acceptance and understanding. It could also stem from fear, but it could be more complex than just insecurity, because the stuff that involves an INFJ isn't quite as simple as you think. Don't cross them, or you'll get the door slam. Love INFJs for what they are, but oh boy, you better fear them. I mean, deathly fear them, for they can become demons. INFJs have a lot of mercy and compassion, but cross them or give them an excuse to turn into what they never wanted to be, and they will do so. An INFJ can get really bad. I mean, Loki bad. Hitler bad. Oh, no, yeah, the Dragon Lady from Game of Thrones bad. Mess around with an INFJ, and you're bound to get the infamous INFJ door slam. And believe me, you don't want that. The heck, man, that's better than them coming at you with a vengeance. They won't just try to get you. They come after your entire bloodline. If an INFJ can't tolerate a person's toxicity, they slam the door on them. They do this to protect themselves from further pain. INFJs are very sensitive and need strong emotional support. But that has to be a two-way street. In deeper relationships involving INFJs, a door slam could cut off all contact with you. They will unfollow you on social media and have nothing to do with you. They don't hate you. Instead, they nothing you. Yep, they can go bad, just like the Joker bad. When an INFJ gets wired the wrong way, they might just become unrealistic and impractical and focus on their own vision of the future, regardless of how warped it may seem to you and me. In these situations, the other mental faculties of their personality are repressed, and a distorted version of their dominant function, introverted intuition, takes over. When an INFJ loses their balancing power of extroverted sensation, or SE, they lose sight of reality. The gravity of their actions is also lost on them. To snap out of it, an INFJ needs to take a breather and tune into the current moment, looking at nature and taking stock of observable facts. But when some lose it, they don't care. They might react to the denial of people around them when they want acknowledgement. But then, once that connection to the SE is cut off, an INFJ will expect people to follow in this warped vision of theirs, even though you might not have a clue as to what they could be talking about. That could lead to further bitterness, making an INFJ stubborn, angry, and unyielding, pushing them further into isolation. On the other hand, when like-minded people start to acknowledge them, the situation can become dangerous, giving rise to the supervillain.